Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Matt, and today we have an incredibly special episode lined up. We're diving into a subject that has been at the heart of nearly every success story, every major breakthrough, and every path of personal transformation, the timeless journey of self-mastery. Now, for many of us, the idea of self-mastery might seem a bit abstract. We might think, is that even possible? To truly master oneself, the truth is, self-mastery is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. And it's this pursuit, this path, that leads to the deepest sense of fulfillment and purpose. Today, we're going to explore what it truly means to master ourselves, our habits, our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, and how this discipline is the key to unlocking our full potential. You see, when we think about becoming successful or living a fulfilling life, we often focus on external goals, achieving that promotion, building a business, finding financial freedom, or creating a positive impact in the world. And while all these aspirations are worthwhile, they all start with one thing: mastery of ourselves. And there's no better person to guide us through this journey than the man who has inspired millions around the world, a true legend in the field of personal development, Mr. Jim Rohn. Now, if you've been on the path of personal growth for any amount of time, you've likely come across the wisdom of Jim Rohn. He's been a mentor to countless people, from entrepreneurs and executives to everyday individuals who simply want to lead a better life. Jim Rohn's insights have shaped the minds of some of the world's greatest motivational speakers and leaders, and his principles are timeless. Let me tell you a bit about Jim for those who may not be as familiar with his work. Jim started from humble beginnings, and through the power of personal discipline, vision, and consistent learning, he transformed his life into one of success and significance. Over the years, he became a beacon of wisdom and a sought-after speaker, sharing his philosophies on life success and personal mastery. What's remarkable about Jim is his ability to simplify complex ideas, making them accessible to anyone who's ready to grow. Whether it's developing the habit of discipline, cultivating a strong vision, or learning to embrace failure as part of the journey, Jim has always taught with clarity and compassion and an undeniable passion for helping others succeed. Today, Jim and I are going to talk about the journey of self-mastery, what it means, why it's essential, and how anyone, regardless of where they are in life, can start this journey. Self-mastery, in its essence, is about learning to take control of our own lives. It's about living consciously, making choices that align with our highest values, and continually improving ourselves. It's about striving to be a little better every day than we were the day before. Now, for those of you listening, I want you to take a moment and think about what self-mastery might mean for you personally. Think about the areas of your life where you feel strong, confident, and disciplined, and then think about the areas where you struggle, where perhaps you let external circumstances control your reactions or decisions. Today's episode is about bridging that gap. It's about moving from where you are to where you truly want to be. Jim is here to share his wisdom on how to embark on this journey. And let me tell you, folks, this is going to be an episode filled with powerful insights. Whether you're just starting out on your path of growth or you're someone who's been working on yourself for years, you're going to find nuggets of wisdom that can shift your perspective and help you take your next steps. So grab a pen and notebook, find a comfortable spot, and let's dive in. Jim, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Matt. It's truly a pleasure to be here, and I'm honored to share this time with you and everyone listening. You know, self-mastery has been a lifelong pursuit for me. And it's true, as you mentioned, it's not a destination, but a continuous journey. The more we learn about ourselves, the more we grow, the more we realize there's always another level to reach. There's always room to become just a little bit better than we were yesterday. One of the things I learned early on is that if we can learn to master ourselves, we open the door to mastering our lives. Self-mastery is the foundation. It's the roots that support the tree, and without it, any success we build is fragile. Today, I hope to share some of the lessons I've learned along the way, and I want to remind everyone that self-mastery is not reserved for a few. It's available to anyone who is willing to put in the work, day by day, step by step.
Thank you, Jim. That's exactly why we're here today. To really understand that this journey isn't exclusive or out of reach. It's something we can all pursue, regardless of our current circumstances. We're about to dive deep into what self-mastery means, why it matters, and how each of us can take actionable steps toward becoming the best version of ourselves. So Jim, let's start right at the heart of it. Self-mastery, it's a term we hear a lot, but it can be tough to grasp what it truly means. In your experience, what does self-mastery mean to you? And why do you believe it's the foundation of all personal growth?
That's a great question, Matt, and one I think about often. Self-mastery, in its simplest terms, is the ability to govern oneself. It's the discipline to steer your life in the direction you choose, regardless of external circumstances. But let me clarify. Self-mastery is not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about making small improvements day by day and building the resilience to handle whatever life throws at you. You see, self-mastery is a bit like a garden. If you've ever tended to a garden, you'll know that it doesn't grow wild. It requires attention, care, and intention. Without consistent effort, weeds start to sprout, the soil dries up, and the plants wither. Self-mastery is the process of constantly tending to your mind, your body, and your actions, making sure you're nurturing the right things while removing the things that don't serve you. It's this careful, daily cultivation of discipline and awareness that builds the foundation of a successful life. When I was young, I didn't understand this. I thought life was about what happened to me, about my circumstances, my background, or the luck I'd come across. But then I met my mentor, Mr. Shoaff, and he introduced me to a different idea, that my life would be determined by the person I chose to become. He said to me, "Jim, if you want things to change, you have to change. If you want things to get better, you have to get better." That was a turning point. I remember a specific moment early in my career when I was working as a stock clerk at a department store. My life was, by all accounts, average. I had no direction, no sense of purpose. Then, one day, my mentor asked me to sit down and write out my goals. I'd never done anything like it before. He said, "What do you want to achieve? What kind of person do you want to become?" And I remember staring at that piece of paper for what felt like hours, because honestly, I didn't know the answer. But he helped me realize something, that everything I wanted was possible, but only if I was willing to master myself. He explained that self-mastery wasn't a one-time effort, but a daily commitment. He said, "Jim, success isn't something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become, and to become that person, I had to work on myself consistently." So, Matt, to me, self-mastery means developing the discipline to govern your thoughts, emotions, and actions in a way that aligns with your highest aspirations. It's about controlling your impulses, choosing the difficult path over the easy one when it's necessary, and staying true to the principles you believe in, even when it's uncomfortable. It's not easy, but it's the foundation upon which everything else is built. Think of it like this. Imagine building a house. Now, no matter how beautiful the walls or how luxurious the furnishings, if that foundation is weak, the whole structure is unstable. Self-mastery is that foundation. When we master ourselves, our thoughts, our responses, our habits, we create a stable base upon which we can build a meaningful and successful life. And it's so important to remember that self-mastery starts within. Many people think that if they can just get the right job, find the right partner, or make enough money, they'll be happy. But the truth is, happiness and fulfillment are cultivated within. They're a product of how well we manage our own minds and emotions, not what happens to us. The journey of self-mastery begins by looking inward and deciding to take full responsibility for our lives. So if there's one thing I'd want everyone listening to remember, it's that self-mastery isn't a destination, it's a journey. Every day we have the opportunity to make choices that either move us closer to our potential or further away from it. And those choices begin with the way we think. You know, one of the most powerful aspects of self-mastery is learning to master your mind, learning to recognize the thoughts that help you and the ones that hold you back. It's not about ignoring negative thoughts or pretending everything is perfect. Instead, it's about acknowledging those thoughts, examining them, and choosing to focus on what empowers you. If we're not careful, we'll find ourselves reacting to life rather than creating our life. This mastery over our minds then extends to our emotions. Self-mastery doesn't mean you won't feel anger, frustration, or disappointment. These emotions are part of the human experience. But it does mean you learn to respond to those emotions thoughtfully rather than letting them control you. If you're able to pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what's the best way to handle this? Then you're on the path to self-mastery. And finally, self-mastery extends to our actions. You see, Matt, every action we take reinforces who we are. When we choose to act in ways that align with our values, whether that's showing up on time, keeping our promises, or treating others with respect, we're not just affecting the people around us, we're solidifying our own character. And character, once developed, becomes the cornerstone of a fulfilling life. So self-mastery is a continuous journey. Every day you're planting seeds in the garden of your mind. The question is, are those seeds going to produce weeds or flowers? Are you investing in habits, thoughts, and actions that will bring you closer to your potential? Or are you letting life pass you by without taking the reins? It's a question worth asking every day.
That's powerful, Jim. I love how you describe self-mastery as a garden. It really brings to light the importance of nurturing ourselves day by day. It's not about making drastic changes overnight, but about small, consistent steps that eventually lead to incredible growth. And that idea of controlling our thoughts, emotions, and actions really resonates with me because, as you said, it's not about having a perfect life or avoiding negative feelings. It's about learning to manage those things in a way that serves us. One thing that really stood out to me was how you described success as something we attract by who we become, rather than something we chase. It's such a profound shift in perspective. It makes the journey towards self-mastery feel not only achievable, but incredibly worthwhile. So if self-mastery is this garden we tend to daily, I think a major part of that garden is discipline. It's what keeps us on track, even when the journey gets tough. Jim, can we dive a bit deeper into the role of discipline and self-mastery? Jim, I think we're touching on something incredibly important here. Discipline. Now, discipline sometimes gets a bit of a bad reputation. For a lot of people, it feels restrictive or even limiting, like it takes away the joy or spontaneity from life. But I know you see it quite differently. In fact, you've often said that discipline is the gateway to freedom. Could you share more on why you see it this way and what makes discipline such an essential part of self-mastery?
Absolutely, Matt. You're right, discipline does have a reputation for being tough, and that's because in a way it is. But that toughness isn't something to shy away from, it's something to embrace. You see, discipline isn't about restriction. It's about liberation. Think of discipline as the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. Without that bridge, you're simply stuck, hoping to reach the other side without any solid way to get there. I like to say that discipline is the foundation upon which all other virtues are built. It's the tool that allows you to turn intention into reality. You can have the clearest goals, the most beautiful dreams, but without discipline, they remain just that, dreams and goals, floating out of reach. Discipline is what grounds them. It brings them into your daily life, bit by bit, habit by habit. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Discipline in small, consistent habits leads to what I call exponential growth. It's the idea that small efforts, compounded over time, yield enormous results. I think of it as planting seeds. Every small act of discipline, whether it's reading a few pages of a good book each day, making a healthy choice for lunch, or saving a portion of your earnings, these are like seeds. They may not seem like much at the moment, but with time and care, they grow into powerful results. Take, for example, the habit of reading for just 10 minutes a day. That's not much, is it? Just 10 minutes. But do the math, that's over 60 hours of reading in a year. That's small. Consistent habit can lead to a lifetime of learning and wisdom. Or think about physical fitness. If you commit to just 15 minutes of exercise each day, over time, you'll see a transformation in your health, energy, and even mindset. These small daily disciplines don't feel overwhelming, but they add up to something extraordinary. Let me share some practical examples, Matt. Because sometimes discipline feels abstract, but when you break it down into habits, it becomes more accessible. One of the simplest forms of discipline is setting a morning routine. That could be as straightforward as starting your day with a glass of water, taking a few minutes to reflect on what you're grateful for, and reviewing your goals. It's a small ritual, but it sets the tone for your entire day. You're building discipline in those first few moments, and that focus carries through everything you do. Another example is financial discipline. This doesn't mean living with less than you need or depriving yourself of comforts. It's about learning the value of each dollar you earn and choosing to save, invest, or spend wisely. You'd be amazed at how a small amount saved consistently can grow over the years. When you make a habit of financial discipline, you find that money no longer controls you. Instead, you control your finances. That's real freedom, Matt. Now, for me personally, one of the most transformative habits of discipline has been in my study time. I learned early on the importance of dedicating time each day to learn something new. This discipline of constant study has been invaluable. And it doesn't have to be hours each day, even just 15 to 30 minutes of. Focused learning can make a world of difference over the long haul. Imagine the compounding effect of that time over years. You're constantly growing, constantly improving, and that's what leads to a life of abundance and fulfillment.
Jim, I'll be honest, discipline is something I think a lot of people, myself included, struggle with from time to time. I mean, we start with the best intentions, whether it's exercising regularly, eating healthy, or saving money. But after a while, life gets in the way. You get busy, you get tired, and before you know it, those good habits slip. Do you have any advice for overcoming these obstacles and sticking with discipline, even when it feels tough?
Matt, you've touched on something everyone faces. The truth is, We're all human, and life will throw us off course from time to time. Discipline doesn't mean perfection. It means consistency, even in the face of setbacks. One of the biggest myths about discipline is that it requires superhuman willpower. But discipline is actually about creating habits that make it easier for you to stay on track. Let's talk about willpower for a moment. Willpower is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But if you rely solely on willpower, you'll find that it can wear out, especially if you're fighting multiple battles at once. That's why discipline works best when it's based on small, manageable habits. Habits become automatic over time, which reduces the need to rely on willpower. When you don't have to think about it, you're less likely to slip. Now, when it comes to overcoming those inevitable moments of doubt or fatigue, here's what I recommend. Remember your why. Think back to the reason you started this journey of self-mastery in the first place. What's the deeper purpose behind these habits you're building? When you connect your daily actions to a larger vision, something meaningful, it becomes easier to push through those tough moments. Discipline then becomes less about the task itself and more about the purpose it serves. And let's be practical too. If you slip up, if you miss a day or have a setback, don't let it derail you entirely. Get back up the next day and start again. Success isn't a straight line, it's a series of climbs, plateaus, and yes, even some slips. But each day you recommit, you're strengthening that discipline muscle. It's the willingness to keep coming back, keep trying. That builds true mastery. One last thing, Matt, if you find that discipline feels too hard, start smaller. Don't try to do everything at once. Maybe it's just 5 minutes of exercise, or saving a small amount each week, or reading just 1 page a day. As you build up these small wins, your confidence grows, and the habit becomes a natural part of your life. Discipline is like a muscle, and we strengthen it by starting with what we can handle and working our way up.
That really hits home, Jim. I think a lot of us tend to aim big right from the start, and when things get challenging, we feel discouraged. But hearing you talk about starting small and just being consistent, that feels so much more achievable. It's like you're building a bank of confidence that keeps you moving forward bit by bit. I also really like what you said about remembering the why. It gives discipline a purpose beyond the immediate effort. And of course, the idea of discipline being the bridge to freedom, that's something I'll be holding on to. When we're disciplined with our habits, whether it's our finances, our health, or even our learning. It's not just about self-control, it's about creating a life that's in line with our goals and our values. That's true freedom. Now, Jim, I think we're building a strong foundation here. We've covered what self-mastery is and why discipline is so important, but another piece of this journey, one that I know is close to your heart, is the impact of influence, both positive and negative, on our path to self-mastery. Could we dive into how the people and environments around us can either lift us up or hold us back? Jim, I think we're getting into something really fundamental here. Discipline gives us the tools, but I've often heard you talk about how having a strong vision and a clear purpose is what really brings everything together. It's almost like the guiding light that keeps us on track, especially when things get tough. Could you share more about how vision and purpose play into self-mastery, and maybe give us a glimpse into how having that strong why has shaped your journey?
Absolutely, Matt. Vision is, without question, the cornerstone of self-mastery. Because here's the truth, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. But self-mastery, real self-mastery, is about having a direction, a purpose that pulls you forward, especially when the challenges come. And let me tell you, the challenges will come. They're part of the journey. When I think about vision, I often think of it as that deep sense of why that sits at the core of who we are and what we want to become. It's what gets us out of bed in the morning, even when the road feels steep and the climb seems endless. Vision is what gives meaning to discipline and turns daily actions into building blocks of something greater. It's about knowing that there's something worth working toward, something that matters enough to keep you going. Let me share a little story from my early days. When I was a young man, I didn't have much in terms of resources or experience. But one thing I did have was a burning desire to create a better life for myself and my family. I remember sitting down one evening with nothing more than a pen and paper and writing out what I wanted my life to look like in 10 years. I wrote about the home I wanted to live in, the person I wanted to become, and even the contributions I hoped to make to others. That exercise was simple, but it was profound because it forced me to confront what I really wanted to define my vision. And as I started making progress, that vision became my compass. Every decision, every action was measured against that picture of my future self. I asked myself, is this choice leading me closer to that vision? Or is it pulling me further away? And that's the beauty of a clear vision. It becomes your guide, your reference point. With that, you're not wandering through life, you're moving with intention and purpose. I think of vision as fuel for the journey of self-mastery. It's what gives power to your actions and turns discipline into joy instead of drudgery. Because when you have a strong why, even the hard work becomes meaningful. The sacrifices feel worthwhile. You're not just following a set of rules or routines, you're creating something you truly care about. And that changes everything, Matt. Now, for those listening who may be wondering, how do I create a vision for myself? Here's what I recommend. Start by setting aside some quiet time. Grab a pen and paper and really allow yourself to dream. Ask yourself what kind of person you want to be, what impact you want to make, and how you want to feel about your life. Don't hold back. Let your imagination roam. This isn't about limitations or where you're at right now, it's about where you want to go. And here's the magic, Matt, when you create a vision, you're setting a course. The human mind is remarkable. Once you set a clear target, it begins to work toward it, often without you even realizing it. You start noticing opportunities, seeing resources you didn't see before, and even meeting people who can help you on your way. But it all begins with that vision. Self-mastery, as I see it, is the ongoing commitment to align yourself with that vision day by day, choice by choice. I remember one gentleman I met years ago, a fellow named Tom. Tom was in a challenging place in his life. He had big dreams but felt stuck, like he just couldn't get his momentum going. So we sat down and I asked him about his vision, what he truly wanted. And you know what? He didn't have a clear answer. He had ideas, hopes, but they were scattered. So I encouraged him to sit down and write out his vision in detail, not just what he wanted to have, but who he wanted to become. A year later, Tom came back to me a different man. He had a clear direction and was taking actions that aligned with his vision every single day. He wasn't perfect, none of us are, but he had momentum. And that's what a vision gives you. It gives you momentum. Something to hold on to when life tests you. That's what I want for everyone listening. A vision that's so clear, so compelling, that it pulls you forward. With a vision like that, you're not easily swayed by setbacks or distractions. You're focused, you're moving with intention. And that's the heart of self-mastery, aligning your life with a vision that's meaningful to you.
Jim, I love what you said about creating a vision as a compass. I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of drifting, of moving through life without a clear sense of direction. And what I'm hearing from you is that having a vision isn't just about big dreams. It's about knowing what really matters to you and allowing that to guide your actions. Personally, I've found that defining my own vision has been a powerful tool for grounding myself. When I started taking the time to reflect on what I truly wanted, not just in terms of career or finances, but in the kind of person I wanted to be, it gave me clarity. It helped me to see which habits were helping me and which were holding me back. And I think that's what people can take away from this. A vision gives you clarity about your path, but it also gives you clarity about yourself. Listeners, I want to encourage you, as Jim has, to take a moment to reflect on your vision. Don't be afraid to dream a little. Think about what really matters to you, what lights you up, and don't worry about the how just yet. Let that vision be your compass, guiding you toward the life you want to create. And remember, like Jim said, self-mastery is about aligning yourself with that vision day by day. Now, Jim, you've given us a lot to think about. We've covered self-mastery as a journey rooted in discipline and guided by vision, but I know there's another piece to this puzzle, the impact of the people and environments around us. I'd love to dive into how our surroundings and the people we let into our lives can either lift us up or hold us back. Jim, one of the things I see holding so many people back, and I'll admit it's something I've struggled with too, is this fear of failure. For so many of us, failure feels like the end of the road, or even worse, a reflection of our own worth. But I know you see failure very differently. So, I'd love to hear your perspective on this. How can we shift our mindset and start to see failure in a way that empowers us rather than paralyzes us?
Matt, that's such a crucial question. You know, the way we look at failure can make or break us. And here's a powerful truth I've learned: failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of success. It's one of those strange paradoxes of life. Without failure, there's no growth, no learning, and ultimately, no self-mastery. Now, I understand the fear of failure. It's natural, it's woven into the human experience. We don't want to feel embarrassed or defeated, and we certainly don't want to put in our heart and soul just to see it fall apart. But here's what I've learned over the years, Matt. Failure isn't final. It's not a verdict on your character, and it doesn't define you unless you let it. Failure is feedback, plain and simple. Think of it this way, each failure is like a teacher that brings us closer to the truth. It's there to show us what isn't working, to highlight the areas where we can improve, and to sharpen our skills. The best lessons, the ones that stick, come from the moments we fall down and have to get back up. I've seen so many people who've achieved great things who attribute their success to those very moments when they failed, learned, and grew. I'll share a story that taught me this lesson. Early in my career, I was just getting started in sales, and I remember the first few months were, let's just say they were humbling. I was failing miserably. But one day, my mentor took me aside and said, "Jim, every no you hear is getting you closer to a yes. Every failure is a stepping stone to success. If you learn from it, that changed everything for me, Matt." Instead of avoiding failure, I started welcoming it. I realized that each rejection, each mistake, was bringing me closer to where I wanted to be. So if you want to master yourself, you have to be willing to fail. In fact, you should embrace it. View each setback as a part of your training, your preparation. Each failure is a lesson wrapped in a tough package. But that's what makes it so valuable. The discomfort you feel in those moments? That's growth. That's you becoming stronger, smarter, more resilient. Think about some of the most successful people we know. Take Thomas Edison, for example. People often forget that he failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. And every single time he failed, he didn't say, "Well, I guess I'm just no good at this." No, he said, "I found another way that doesn't work," and he kept going. That's the mindset of someone committed to mastery. They don't see failure as a judgment on their abilities. They see it as feedback, guidance on how to improve. Another example is Michael Jordan. Can you imagine one of the greatest athletes of all time being cut from his high school basketball team? He could have quit right there. But instead, he used that failure as fuel. He worked harder than ever. And he went on to become one of the most celebrated athletes in history. He once said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games, 26 times. I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed." These stories aren't just inspiring anecdotes, Matt. They're proof that failure is part of the process. These individuals didn't avoid failure, they embraced it. They learned from it, and they used it to build their strengths. And that's something we can all do. Now, I understand that this isn't easy. Shifting your mindset to view failure as a positive thing takes practice. But here are a few tips that I think can help. First, change your language around failure. Instead of saying, "I failed," say, "I learned." Language is powerful. The way you talk about failure can either lift you up or tear you down. By framing it as learning, you remind yourself that every experience, good or bad, has something valuable to teach you. Second, adopt what I call a scientist mindset. Think about how scientists work. When they conduct an experiment and it doesn't go as planned, they don't throw their hands up and say, "Well, I guess I'm just no good at science." No, they study the results, learn what went wrong, or make adjustments and try again. They see failure as data, information that helps them get closer to the truth. We can all do the same in our own lives. Third, celebrate small wins along the way. Don't wait until you've made it to acknowledge your progress. Every step forward, every lesson learned is worth celebrating. This reinforces that you're on the right path and keeps you motivated to keep going, even when things are tough. Fourth, surround yourself with people who support your growth. Find mentors, friends, or a community that understands and values growth and learning. When you're around people who view failure as a stepping stone, you start to adopt that mindset yourself. And you realize you're not alone on this journey. We all fall down. It's those who get back up who make it. Fifth, and perhaps most importantly, practice gratitude even for your failures. I know that sounds strange, but it's powerful. When you're grateful for the lessons that failure brings, you start to see setbacks not as curses, but as blessings. They're opportunities to refine, to learn, and to grow.
Jim, this is so enlightening. I think you're really onto something with reframing failure as feedback. It changes everything. Suddenly, failure isn't something to fear. It's something to fear. It's something to appreciate. It's like each setback is a piece of the puzzle, guiding us toward a better understanding of ourselves and our goals. Listeners, I want you to really think about what Jim has shared here. Failure isn't the end, it's a new beginning. It's a chance to regroup, learn, and try again with more wisdom than you had before. So next time you face a setback, and you will, because that's life, remember that it's not the end of the road. It's just part of the journey, a lesson that's preparing you for what's next. Jim, something I keep coming back to in this conversation is the idea of resilience. It seems to be at the core of self-mastery, that ability to bounce back, to keep moving forward, even when things are tough. But for a lot of people, resilience feels like a vague or almost unattainable quality. So I'm curious, Jim, how can someone intentionally build resilience? How do we strengthen that inner muscle that keeps us going when everything seems to be against us?
Resilience. Yes, Matt, you're absolutely right. Resilience is like the backbone of self-mastery, a crucial component for anyone serious about growth and personal development. I'll tell you something, resilience isn't something we're born with or without. It's something we cultivate. It's built through our experiences, especially the tough ones. You see, resilience is like a muscle. When you exercise it, it gets stronger. But just like building muscle, building resilience takes effort, consistency, and sometimes a little discomfort. It's forged in the fires of our challenges, in the moments when we fall and have to find the courage to stand back up. I remember a time early in my career when I faced a series of setbacks. I'd lost a significant business deal, one that I had poured months of work into, and it felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. At that moment, I had two choices. I could give up and walk away, or I could choose to learn from that experience, as painful as it was, and keep moving forward. I decided to keep going, to keep building. And looking back, that setback, though it felt like a defeat at the time, was actually a stepping stone to resilience. It taught me that setbacks aren't roadblocks, they're the rough patches on the journey that help us find our true strength. Now, Matt, resilience isn't just about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward. It's about learning from what didn't go as planned and using those lessons to propel yourself even further. When you develop resilience, you're not just surviving difficult moments, you're growing from them. You're finding out what you're made of. That's the heart of resilience. So for anyone listening who feels like they're in the midst of a setback, remember this: each challenge is a part of your resilience training. Embrace it. It's through these very experiences that you build the strength to keep going, the tenacity to stand tall, even in the face of adversity. Now, I want to share some practical ways to build resilience, because I believe everyone can strengthen this quality in themselves. First, cultivate a mindset of gratitude, even in tough times. I know that might sound strange, but when you practice gratitude, you're training your mind to focus on what's still good in your life, even when things feel hard. Gratitude shifts your perspective. It grounds you in the knowledge that no matter how tough things get, there's always something to be thankful for, and that gives you strength. Second, set small, achievable goals. When you're facing adversity, big goals can feel overwhelming. But if you can break those goals down into small steps, you'll find that each small victory builds your confidence. Each step forward, no matter how small, is a reminder that you're making progress. That builds resilience, one step at a time. Third, surround yourself with resilient people. You've heard that saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? When you're around people who've overcome their own struggles, you pick up on their energy, their mindset, their determination. Their stories remind you that it's possible to keep going, even when it's tough. Fourth, embrace failure as part of the journey, as we discussed earlier. Every time you fail and get back up, you're adding a layer of resilience. It's like mental armor that gets stronger with each challenge. So, don't fear failure, see it as an opportunity to build your resilience, to add to your personal strength. Finally, be kind to yourself. Developing resilience doesn't mean being hard on yourself or expecting perfection. It means having compassion for yourself as you go through challenges. You're not always going to get it right, and that's okay. Give yourself permission to make mistakes, to stumble. The important thing is to get back up, dust yourself off, and keep going.
Jim, this is so powerful. I can relate to so much of what you're saying. I remember a time in my own life where I faced a major setback. I was pursuing a big goal, something I'd worked on for years, and when it didn't pan out, I felt crushed. But just like you said, that moment taught me so much about resilience. I learned to get back up, to adjust my approach, and to keep moving forward. And looking back, that experience gave me a kind of inner strength I didn't know I had. And for our listeners, I just want to say that resilience isn't about never feeling down or never facing challenges. It's about how you respond to those challenges. It's about finding a way to keep going, even when things are hard, even when it feels like the odds are stacked against you. Jim, what would you say to someone who's facing a big challenge right now, someone who's struggling to find that resilience within themselves?
Matt, I'd say this resilience is already within you. Sometimes when we're in the middle of a storm, we don't realize just how strong we are. But I believe that everyone has the capacity for resilience. It might take time and it might take some tough moments to bring it out. But it's there. Don't rush the process. Take each day as it comes. Focus on small wins, on the little steps forward, and know that each challenge you face is helping you build a deeper, stronger resilience. Remember, resilience isn't about never falling, it's about rising every single time you do. It's the decision to keep going, to learn, and to grow, and with each challenge, you'll find that your capacity for resilience only gets stronger. That's the beauty of it. So keep going. Trust that these challenges are shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for even greater things.
Jim, one thing that keeps coming up in our conversation today is the power of positivity. It seems like the way we think about ourselves, our lives, and our challenges can shape so much of our experience on this journey of self-mastery. And I know gratitude is often mentioned alongside positivity as a tool for growth. Can you talk a bit about how positivity and gratitude play a role in self-mastery? How do these concepts influence our ability to grow, adapt, and succeed?
Matt, you've hit on something incredibly important. I've always believed that positivity and gratitude are like the foundation stones of self-mastery. When you have a positive mindset, you're giving yourself the best chance to approach life with strength, with resilience, and with a sense of purpose. Positivity doesn't mean ignoring the hard parts of life, far from it. It's about choosing to see challenges as opportunities, about looking for the lessons in every experience, good or bad. And then there's gratitude. Gratitude is a game changer. See, gratitude is a way of acknowledging the good that's already in your life. And when you focus on that, it's like you're priming your mind to attract more of it. It's a practice of abundance. When you're grateful, you're telling yourself, there's already so much to appreciate in my life. And that shift in perspective can be incredibly empowering. Let me share a quick story. Early in my career, I met a man who had achieved incredible success, wealth, influence, the works. I asked him what his secret was, and he said something that stayed with me ever since. Jim, every morning I spend 5 minutes thinking of things I'm grateful for. Even if it's just the fact that I woke up today, that simple practice, he said, helped him start every day with a sense of purpose and positivity. And it's something I've carried with me ever since. No matter how tough things get, there's always something to be thankful for. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's an action. It's a choice to focus on what's good. When you do that, you're training your mind to look for the positives, even in challenging situations. And I tell you, Matt, that can change everything. When you have a positive and grateful mindset, challenges don't seem as daunting. Setbacks don't feel as overwhelming. You begin to see them as stepping stones, as opportunities to grow. So for anyone listening who's wondering how to start incorporating positivity and gratitude into their life, let me share a few simple exercises that can make a big difference. First, start with a gratitude journal. Every day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. And don't just go through the motions, really take a moment to think about each one. Maybe it's your health, a friend who supported you, or even just a good meal you had. The goal here is to train your mind to focus on the positives, no matter how small they may seem. Over time, this becomes a habit, and you'll find that your whole perspective on life starts to shift. Second, practice reframing throughout the day. When you encounter a challenge or frustration, try to find at least one positive aspect in the situation. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How might this make me stronger or more resilient? It doesn't have to be a huge revelation. Even just acknowledging that a setback can teach you patience or perseverance is powerful. Third, make gratitude a part of your daily conversation. Take a moment to thank someone sincerely, whether it's a family member, a friend, or even a colleague. When you express gratitude toward others, you're not only strengthening your own practice, but also spreading positivity around you. It's a ripple effect that can brighten someone else's day and reinforce your own sense of appreciation. And remember, gratitude isn't about ignoring life's difficulties. It's about balancing them with a sense of appreciation. Positivity doesn't mean pretending that everything is perfect. It means choosing to focus on the parts of life that are good and finding a way to learn from the rest.
Jim, I absolutely love these exercises. I've got to say, gratitude has been transformative in my life as well. I actually started a gratitude journal about a year ago. And it's amazing how something so simple can have such a big impact. Just the act of pausing each day to acknowledge what's good in my life has helped me shift my focus from what's missing to what's already there. One thing I've also started doing is incorporating gratitude into my mornings. I spend just a few minutes in silence thinking about the things I'm grateful for: my health, my family, the work I get to do. And it really sets the tone for my day. I feel calmer and more grounded. and more open to whatever comes my way. And like you said, expressing gratitude toward others has been a powerful shift as well. I've made it a habit to let people know when I appreciate them, even for small things. It's not only strengthened my relationships, but it also reinforces my own mindset of positivity. It's like I'm training my brain to focus on the good around me, and I've found it makes me more resilient in the face of challenges.
Matt, that's fantastic. And I think you've hit on something so important here. Positivity and gratitude aren't just add-ons to the journey of self-mastery, they're central to it. They're the lenses through which we view the world, and they shape how we respond to everything that comes our way. When you cultivate a positive mindset and a grateful heart, you're equipping yourself with two of the most powerful tools for growth and resilience. And for our listeners, I want to say this starts small. Don't feel like you have to overhaul your entire mindset overnight. Just begin with one positive thought each morning, or one note of gratitude each night. Over time, you'll find that these small actions add up, and you'll begin to notice a shift in how you experience life. You'll approach challenges with a greater sense of calm, a sense of knowing that there's always something to learn, something to appreciate. So as you continue on this journey of self-mastery, remember the power of positivity and gratitude. Use them as your foundation, your anchor points. They'll help you see the beauty in every day, find meaning in every challenge, and experience joy in the smallest moments. And that, my friends, is where true self-mastery begins.
Jim, this has been a truly transformative conversation so far. We've touched on so many important aspects of self-mastery, from resilience and discipline to vision, positivity and gratitude. But I think one question that a lot of listeners have is, where do they start sometimes? Embarking on a journey like self-mastery can feel daunting. So could you share with us some practical steps, things that someone could start doing today to really begin their journey of self-mastery?
Absolutely, Matt, and you're right, self-mastery is a lifelong journey, and it can feel like a mountain at times. But the key is to start with small, consistent actions. You don't climb a mountain in one leap, you take it step by step. Let me share a few foundational steps that anyone can take right now to build momentum towards self-mastery. These aren't complicated or grandiose. They're simple, manageable, and they'll help you create a solid foundation for growth. First, set small, achievable goals. Often we set these enormous, long-term goals, and while those are important, starting small gives you quick wins, which build your confidence and create a sense of momentum. Let's say your goal is to be more disciplined. Start with something small. Maybe you decide to wake up 15 minutes earlier each day or drink a glass of water as soon as you wake up. These small actions reinforce discipline, and as you succeed with them, you'll naturally feel more capable of tackling bigger goals. Second, engage in regular self-reflection. You see, self-mastery isn't just about doing more, it's about understanding who you are. Taking a few minutes at the end of each day to reflect on what went well, what you learned, and what you'd like to improve is incredibly powerful. This daily habit builds self-awareness, and it helps you see where you're making progress and where you might need to adjust. Self-reflection is like checking your compass. It keeps you aligned with your goals and values. Third, develop productive routines. Routines are the backbone of self-mastery. When you create a routine, you're creating a structure for your day, which removes decision fatigue and frees up mental energy for other things. For example, a morning routine could include things like exercise, reading something inspirational, and planning out your priorities for the day. A solid routine helps you start the day with intention, and it's a powerful way to create consistency, which is essential in any journey of growth. The beauty of routines, Matt, is that they automate the basics so you can focus on the bigger picture. Think of them as the soil that nourishes the seeds of your goals. When you cultivate good habits, like reading, exercising, or setting intentions each morning, you're setting yourself up for long-term growth. Every small, positive habit adds up over time. And before you know it, you'll look back and realize just how much ground you've covered. I remember when I first started out, I was mentored by a man who told me, "Jim, success isn't something you achieve in one day. It's something you build every day." Brick by brick, I took that to heart, and it taught me the importance of small, daily actions. If you want to master yourself, master the small moments. Commit to simple routines that support your goals, and those small efforts will compound over time.
Jim, I love the way you've broken this down. You're right, starting small can make such a big difference. I think a lot of people feel like they need to completely overhaul their lives to start seeing change, but it's so much more effective to start with small steps, just like you said. Setting a goal to wake up a little earlier or add a few minutes of reflection each night, these are all things that anyone can do. And once those small actions become habits, they make way for bigger changes. I know for me, starting my day with a short meditation and writing down my top 3 goals for the day has really helped me focus. Those are just a couple of minutes, but they give my day a direction. It's like setting the coordinates for where I want to go. And over time, it's amazing to see how much those small practices have changed the way I approach my work, my relationships, even my mindset. So for everyone listening, start where you are. Don't worry about making massive changes right away. Focus on those small daily actions that Jim mentioned, whether it's setting a small goal, taking a few minutes to reflect, or creating a routine that works for you. These might seem like simple steps, but they build the foundation for everything else.
Exactly, Matt. And one more thing I'd add here, don't underestimate the power of consistency. Consistency is the glue that holds self-mastery together. Anyone can do something positive once in a while, but the real change happens when you commit to doing it every day, even when it's hard or you're not feeling motivated. Consistency is where discipline and resilience meet, and it's what separates people who achieve real growth from those who only dream about it. And remember, the journey of self-mastery is deeply personal. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. So take these tools and adapt them to your life. Make them your own. You might find that journaling works better for you than meditation, or that exercising in the morning sets the tone for your day. The key is to experiment, see what feels right, and commit to those practices that help you grow. And as you do this, celebrate your small victories. Recognize your progress. Self-mastery isn't about perfection, it's about growth. It's about becoming a little better today than you were yesterday. And when you commit to that journey, Matt, you'll find that the rewards are beyond anything you could have imagined. A life of purpose, resilience, and true fulfillment, that's the ultimate reward of self-mastery.
Jim, you've shared some powerful tools and techniques for self-mastery, and I know so many people will find those ideas helpful. But there's another factor in this journey that I think is often overlooked, and that's mentorship. A lot of us look up to others who have already walked this path and learned from their successes and their mistakes. Can you talk about the role that mentors played in your own journey towards self-mastery? And maybe give some guidance on how others can find the right mentors.
Matt, I truly wouldn't be the person I am today without the guidance of my mentors. I've always believed that one of the greatest gifts we can receive in life is wisdom from those who've gone before us. Mentors are like guides who light the way on this path to self-mastery, helping us see possibilities we might not have considered and keeping us from stumbling over the same stones they once encountered. When I was a young man, I was fortunate to meet a man named Earl Shaw. Earl was an extraordinary businessman and an even greater human being. When I met him, I was struggling, working hard, but not getting anywhere. Earl took me under his wing, and the first lesson he taught me was the importance of personal responsibility. He told me, Jim, if you want things to change, you have to change. If you want things to get better, you have to get better. That simple idea shifted my entire perspective. Up until that point, I had been blaming my circumstances, my luck, and other people. But Earl made me realize that I had the power to create my own future. Earl didn't just tell me what to do, he showed me through his own life. He was disciplined, driven, and humble, and he treated everyone he met with respect and kindness. He modeled what self-mastery looked like, not by lecturing, but by living it. And over the years, I learned not just from his words, but from his actions. Earl taught me that self-mastery isn't something you achieve in isolation. Sometimes we need someone who has been there to remind us of what we're capable of. And this is why mentors are so crucial, Matt. A good mentor can help you see yourself more clearly. They can give you honest feedback, challenge you, and push you to grow beyond what you think is possible. But perhaps most importantly, they can share the lessons they've learned the hard way so you don't have to make the same mistakes. Think of it as getting a head start on the journey. You get to build on the foundation they've already laid.
Jim, that's so powerful, especially the part about seeing yourself more clearly. I think sometimes we get in our own way, we have blind spots or limiting beliefs. And having a mentor can really help us break through those. And I love what you said about Earl teaching by example. I think a lot of people imagine that mentorship is all about sitting down for advice sessions. But sometimes the biggest lessons come from simply observing how someone lives and works. For everyone listening, think about the people in your life, whether it's a boss, a friend, a family member, or even someone you admire from a distance. Mentors don't always come in the form of a traditional relationship. Sometimes we can find mentors in books, podcasts, or even by following someone's journey online. The key is to find someone who embodies the values and qualities you're striving for, and then learn from them however you can.
That's exactly right, Matt. Mentorship doesn't have to be formal. And sometimes the best mentors are people you might not even know personally. But if you're looking to find a mentor, someone who can guide you more directly, there are a few things to keep in mind. First, be intentional. Look for someone who has qualities, values, or experiences you aspire to develop in yourself. And don't just look for someone who's successful. Look for someone who aligns with your goals and principles. The right mentor will challenge you and inspire you to grow in ways that matter to you. Second, when you approach a potential mentor, be genuine and respectful. People often ask, how can I find a mentor? But the better question is, how can I show up as someone worth mentoring? When Earl took me under his wing, I didn't ask him outright to be my mentor. I simply showed up willing to learn, eager to grow, and open to change. Be curious, ask questions, and be ready to listen more than you talk. Show your mentor that you value their time and their wisdom. Third, remember that mentorship is a two-way street. While a mentor offers guidance, it's up to you to do the work. Apply what you learn, take action, and show your mentor that you're committed to growth. Mentors want to see that their efforts are making a difference. So, if you're fortunate enough to have someone willing to invest in you, make sure you're investing in yourself too. And lastly, be patient. The right mentor might not appear immediately, but don't rush the process. Sometimes the journey of self-mastery requires that we first learn to mentor ourselves by working on your own growth. You naturally attract people who resonate with your journey. And when the time is right, you'll find that mentors tend to show up just when you need them most.
Jim, I think you just hit on something so important there, that mentorship begins with self-leadership sometimes. We're so focused on finding someone else to guide us that we forget we have to lead ourselves first. And I love what you said about showing up as someone worth mentoring. It's a reminder that mentorship isn't just about what we can get, it's about how we can grow into someone who's committed, responsible, and willing to learn. So to everyone listening, if you're on this journey to self-mastery, consider this: how can you show up every day as someone worth investing in? How can you demonstrate to a mentor, or even to yourself, that you're serious about growth when you approach your journey with this mindset? You're not just waiting for guidance, you're actively preparing yourself to receive it.
Well said, Matt. At the end of the day, self-mastery is a journey that requires both independence and interdependence. We must learn to lead ourselves, but we can also benefit immensely from the wisdom of those who've already walked the path. And remember, mentors are everywhere. Sometimes a mentor can be found in a book, in a podcast, or even in a single conversation with someone who shares a valuable insight. So seek out those who inspire you, learn from their experiences, and apply their wisdom to your own life. And remember, as you grow, you'll likely become a mentor to others too. The journey of self-mastery is one of continuous learning, growing, and sharing. And when you reach a place where you can give back, you'll find that being a mentor is just as rewarding as being mentored.
Wow, what a journey we've been on today. We've covered some of the most essential elements of self-mastery, and I hope each of you listening feels as inspired as I do. Jim, you've shared so many powerful insights, from defining self-mastery as the art of aligning our thoughts, emotions, and actions, to discussing the importance of discipline as a path to freedom. We've dived into the value of having a clear vision and purpose, reframing failure as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block, and strengthening our resilience through life's challenges. We've also talked about the impact of positivity and gratitude, which can keep us grounded and help us face life with a sense of abundance even in tough times. And I especially love this segment on mentorship. As Jim shared, mentors can be some of our greatest guides, shining light on parts of our journey we may not have seen ourselves, and challenging us to grow beyond our current limits. But here's the thing: self-mastery isn't a destination. It's not a badge you earn or a finish line you cross. It's a continuous journey, a daily commitment to become a little better, a little stronger, a little more aligned with who you want to be. Every challenge we face, every setback, every little victory, they're all opportunities to grow. It's a lifelong practice of becoming more intentional, more aware, and more resilient. So wherever you're starting from, whether you're just beginning this journey or you've been working on self-mastery for years, remember that each day is a new chance to learn and grow. Self-mastery isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about making the choice every single day to show up for yourself, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard.
Matt, I couldn't agree more. To everyone listening, I want you to know that you have everything you need to start this journey right now. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect version of yourself. The truth is, the perfect moment is now. Self-mastery begins wherever you are with whatever you have. It's a decision, a choice to take control of your life and commit to your growth. I'll tell you something that Earl Showoff once told me: if you want things to change, you have to change. If you want things to get better, you have to get better at first. It might sound intimidating, but it's actually one of the most empowering things you can realize. You have the power to shape your life. You have the power to master yourself. And that starts with small, consistent steps. Don't let the fear of failure stop you. And don't get discouraged if the progress seems slow. Every day, every action, every bit of effort is bringing you closer to the person you want to become. And remember, self-mastery isn't about doing it alone. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, find mentors who inspire you, and seek out wisdom wherever you can. As we discussed, mentorship can play a crucial role in this journey. So keep your eyes open for people who can help you grow, whether it's in person, through books, or even in moments of conversation. The path of self-mastery is challenging, yes, but it's also one of the most fulfilling paths you can take, and it's never too late to start. So go out there and take the first step, whatever that looks like for you. Begin now. Be patient, be persistent, and be kind to yourself along the way. Self-mastery is not just a gift you give yourself, it's a gift that will impact everyone around you.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode. Jim, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. I know I'm leaving this conversation with some powerful new insights, and I'm sure our listeners are too. And to all of you tuning in, now is the time to take what you've learned and put it into practice. Think about the areas of your life where you can start building self-mastery, even in small ways. Maybe it's setting one new habit, reframing your view on failure, or reaching out to someone who can serve as a mentor. And remember, self-mastery is a journey, one that's filled with learning, growth, and sometimes a bit of struggle. But as Jim said, every step forward is progress. So take that first step today. And if you found value in today's conversation, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more content on personal development, success, and growth. We're here to support you on this journey, one episode at a time. Don't forget to share this episode with anyone you think could benefit from these insights, whether they're just starting out or well on their way to self-mastery. Let's spread this journey together and inspire others to become the best versions of themselves. Thank you for listening. Stay committed, and remember, you're always one step away from growth. Until next time, keep pushing, keep learning, and keep mastering yourself. We'll see you in the next episode.